Right. Welcome everyone to our Somatic Discernment workshop. I'm Summer. This is Renna. We are so pumped to share with you what we've been doing, what we've been up to for the past year and a half in our teacher training. We've actually been coaching our coaches in training, teaching them how to cue deeper somatic discernment. And this is the first offering that we've ever done for the public, even though we integrate a lot of somatic discernment into all of our classes. This is the first time we've presented on it live. And just really breaking it down for you guys. So we are just so excited and so delighted that you're all here. So as you are entering, please keep introducing yourself in the chat bar. I just want to read a few things off here. So we got Julie from RAD. We've got Kit from Bellingham, curious about how to approach somatics. Awesome question. We've got Teresa from Bellingham, curious in engaging more with physical body to get out of my head. Yes, we are going to touch on that today. We've got Carrie from Big Sur. I'm feeding my ever ongoing curiosity and open to whatever arises. Wonderful. Jolie from Monterey. I'm eager to fully understand somatics, and I'm a huge fan of both of you as coaches, educators, and women. Thank you so much, Jolie, for being here. Do you want to read off a few?
Yeah, and just feeling so what is that called? Fluttered is what I'll call it. Twitter-pated. That was the word I was looking for. Okay, Donna from Lopez Island, Washington, currently on the road, anxious to see what this duo has to add to my life. Me too, Donna. Natasha, good to have you here from Bellingham, hoping to center and focus on self. Jeff Olafson, I always struggle with your last name, I apologize. From New York, it's good to see you again. You're open to some new ideas. Awesome job. It's so cool to get to see a lot of you that we know. Some of you we are meeting for the first time. And we'll get started here in just a moment as the rest of us start to trickle in. Welcome, Kristen, to the workshop. We were all just putting in our name, where we're from, and what we're hoping to get out of this workshop today into the chat. If you want to pop in there and let us know what's going on with you. It's good to have you.
All right, so I'm going to start with a story about how I got interested in this topic of somatic discernment. So about, I'd say a year and a half ago, I was struggling with certain patterns that were present in my life for a long time. These were patterns that showed up in relationships, choosing specific archetypes of partners again and again, and wondering, why do I keep having this pattern repeat again? There was other patterns having to do with money and holding wealth in my business. And I was like, there's got to be something underneath that. So I sought out a somatic therapist who I've been working with here in Bellingham, Washington. And he's a professor at Western. He's a really great guy, Scott Nichols. I've been learning a ton from him just through doing somatic therapy. And then I've taken it to my own research to research, if you guys want to write down any resources, Peter Levine's work, Releasing Trauma, just understanding how trauma is in the nervous system, embedded in the nervous system. And also looking at Wilhelm Reich's work as well. Go ahead and mute your screens as you arrive, guys. We'll mute for you as well. So those are two really amazing resources to start understanding the background of somatics. So just doing the legwork of that really inspired me to see, all right, we are doing this MACE stuff here at Flowshala. Why is it that every person that does this consistently for 6 to 12 months keeps feeling empowered? Like, that's the word that I got again and again and again. I feel so empowered. I feel like I'm moving energy through my body. I'm feeling like I'm letting go of stress. I'm really transforming my inner self and my outer self. And so I started to get curious, doing the somatic therapy, understanding these small little exercises that my somatic therapist would take me to, which are very much in the realm of body work, pranayama work, some of which we'll show you today. They're all experiential learning, like learning through the kinesthetic senses. So I was starting to get curious on why steel mace was so empowering. Like, why is it that this steel mace tool allows people to transition out of a state of constant fight or flight and even micro traumas that are embedded in the nervous system, in the fascia? Like, why is this happening consistently again and again? So through applying this and understanding it on a deeper level and teaching it to our coaches and taking our coaches through understanding the 3 Ps, which are patterns, posture, and power leakages, I was able to we got a little hay in there. I was able to actually put 2 and 2 together and figure out why the mace was so darn effective for releasing these patterns. So we're going to present a little bit on that today. If you're new to mace, I highly recommend just getting your hands on the tool and starting to do a deeper discovery. And then I'm going to hand it over to Rena about why she got interested in the topic of somatic discernment.
Thanks for sharing that story. I always really appreciate Summer's growth. I've seen Summer grow through so much of this stuff. It's been such an honor. And for myself personally, it's sort of similar. Many years ago, I started to recognize the ways that these micro traumas and some macro traumas were really affecting my body in physical ways. I was having a lot of embodied pain, which is a really big thing that happens from trauma, where there was huge restrictions in my hips, total lack of presence through my legs, extreme pain in my feet. I was an athlete and got to the point where I couldn't really even walk. It was affecting me in some really nasty ways. It sent me down into the ground. And I started seeking different paths. I started seeking body workers. I started seeking energy workers. And I also started training at Flowshala. Between all of these different avenues, I had a myriad of various teachers that really impacted me, who helped me understand the way that I had detached from myself in deep distrust. So I couldn't really make decisions for my own well-being or the well-being of my family. I have a son. And I was really leaning into the voices of every other piece of racket that was all around outside of me, because sometime in my life, I learned that I couldn't actually trust my own decisions, which is a big thing that happens from trauma as well. Something that a lot of you might be able to relate to. And that's what really led me to somatic discernment. Is my teachers really taught me how to get into the present moment, let go of the tensions that were trapped in my body that were making me in pain and making me sick, and learning what my actual inner voice listens to and what it sounds like. That is a lot through movement, through vocalization, through relating with other people intentionally in various containers, and a lot of the various practices that I bring to the Humans Being Project.
As you can tell, we are really pumped about this. So if we're talking fast, we're actually going to slow our own selves down because there's so much information to share today. And I find too that when we're presenting a lot of information, just taking time to pause and breathe. So based on what we've shared so far, I encourage you guys to just think a little bit about what made you show up live to this workshop. Like, what is it that you're hoping to gain out of it? What do you want to apply to your life? And go ahead and just write that down. If you're journaling right now, just set a little intention for what you want to take away from this workshop. And just listen in to somatically, like what is calling to you? What do you need? What does your body need? What does your nervous system need? Your emotional body, your physical body, your mental body. And we're going to transition into, Rena's got a really cool noticing game that she's going to teach us. And we're going to play that for a bit.
Thanks. So a big piece of being a human is interacting with each other. I know that that's something that we've all been very deprived of in the last couple of years, but it is an essential piece of our human evolution. And so I'm really hoping to try to bring that back in as much as possible. There's a body of work called authentic relating that I've been very influenced by. There might be some of you who understand that a little bit and others not. This game is very fun. It's light, it's not too intense, and most of the time everybody ends hysterically laughing. So please do bear with me. Please turn your camera on if you would like to play this game, or if you don't have a camera, let me know in the chat, just so that I know. I'm gonna break everybody up into breakout rooms of 2. So just make sure you're present here for this so I know who to put in what room. It's very fun. And I'll outline the game a little bit. So before I outline the game, as we all get our cameras on, I just want to invite us all into one big, deep, collective grounding breath. Inhale and out through the mouth. Let's do that 2 more times. Just breathe deep in through the nose. Draw all your attention into your center. And we're going to just gently flicker open the eyes and just look around the room, orient yourself, and really let yourself land. right here, right now. Okay, cool. So before I break you in, I will explain to you a little bit about it. It's just called I Notice. It's very simple. Hold on. I'm just going to flip to my page and I'll get right back in it. Okay. It's the noticing game. Okay, so we're going to be in groups of 2. And you're going to notice whatever on earth is alive for you in this moment. This could be things you're feeling, things you're thinking, things you're seeing, hearing, whatever. As long as it's happening right now, it's totally fine. So person A will go first. You get to decide who person A is, and you'll notice. So for example, I'm going to say, Summer, I notice that your glasses are really shiny. And so Summer's response is going to say, hearing that, I'm noticing blank.
Hearing that, I'm noticing that something about you or something about me.
Whatever you're noticing.
Ooh, I'm noticing I'm feeling a little warmth in my upper body and chest right now.
I'm noticing that my mouth feels really big and smiley.
I'm noticing that some of our participants might have never done this level of interaction in a virtual realm.
I'm noticing that that might be true, but it's going to be great. And so we're just going to keep going back and forth, and just notice whatever it is. There's no right answer here. You could be noticing that you're feeling terrified and don't want to talk about it. That's fine. You're doing it. Does everybody feel good about that? It's pretty straightforward, right? Let's give it a try. We're just going to do it for 2 minutes. Okay, just 2 minutes. And it's going to feel really fun. Even if it's feeling not so fun, you're going to have a good time to stop. So you don't have to keep going and talking for the full 2 minutes. If there's something that feels like it's a good time to stop, and you can come back into the main room. All righty, coming into 21 participants. That is roughly 10 rooms. Yeah, yep. We're just going to see how this goes. If you get in a room with somebody that's not present, you can pop back in and I'll put you in a room with someone else. All righty, 2 minutes on the clock. Here we go. Nope. We're going to be in our own room. Oh, they're going to like it. There's these people. Yeah. Okay.
We got Leah back.
Okay. Leah and Dawn.
I think my computer blocked it because it's a firewall.
Oh, that's okay. You guys can use this room. Dawn, are you here?
I am sort of, yes. There's things happening in the background.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to be in Leah's room?
Sure. Let's see if I can
Logan's back?
Let's see if I can duck out of the way and make that happen.
This
Yeah.
isn't working, is it?
Yeah, I was stranded for a second.
Same, no partner. But I noticed that I needed a Kleenex, so I went and got one while I was waiting.
I noticed I was thirsty, so I went and got something to drink.
I noticed that there's just proactivity to dabble with.
Okay, here we are. We have a whole crew of people where that didn't work for us, and that's okay. Let's just all take popcorn style just so we can all get a bit of it of what you're noticing. That could be, I'm feeling awkward that didn't work. That's what I'm noticing. I'm noticing I feel awkward. I'm just going to take one more minute. Everybody, can I notice? Popcorn style.
I'm noticing a smile and laughter, which is great because Zooms can sometimes be a little.
I'm noticing my hair follicles feel warm and fuzzy, like scalp wise.
Yeah. I'm noticing that I wish my hair follicles felt warm and
I'm noticing I was a little jealous too. Yeah.
noticing a hair treatment in my future.
Hmm. I'm noticing a lot of energy in the other part of the house. I'm hiding out on the porch. um, and feeling the temperature and appreciating the Zoom that we're here, paying attention to those things, not just completely disembodied in ideas.
I'm nursing right now, so I'm feeling that my infant might need me in the next hour. That's what I'm feeling.
Welcome back, all the people. That wasn't as successful. I started this whole thing being willing to make mistakes, and
Is everyone back?
it's all good.
that
We're
everyone?
trickling. It's not everyone. We're trickling. Hey, we're all playing popcorn, I notice, but maybe at this point we can just kind of popcorn as everyone trickles back in, any kind of feedback on how that felt or what that was like. And it could be even a continuation of I notice.
Oh, there they all are.
Everyone's coming back in. Cool. Just kidding. That's going to take forever if we all do that.
Okay.
Here we go.
Yes, we're back in.
In the conclusion of this exercise, Rena's going to tell you why she had us do that.
So this exercise is really about breaking down social barriers where we're in the act of discernment, right? We're usually stuck at being like, what do I say? I just don't know how I feel. And knowing that we are somatically wired to connect with each other and that we can just depend on that noticing. And yes, there's a little act of discernment that needs to take place to decide if something is worth sharing or not. And that is where we all really get hung up. In this game, it gives us the permission to not do that and just see what happens. Make mistakes, offer a game to a Zoom room that doesn't actually work because the Zoom room's malfunctioning. Just do things that are mistake worthy. And we'll get more into how to tone that discernment to be able to have that compass and decision making just a lot more easy so that social situations like that feel light and doable.
And I want to point out too, when given the opportunity to just state, I'm noticing, do we default to, I'm noticing an idea in my head or a feeling, or do we notice something about our environment, or do we notice something about our inner vessel? There's many different ways to notice, and all of these are part of somatic discernment. So I'm glad that we started with something that was smiley and happy because the next section is kind of a little heavy. So we're going to go a little deeper around what are micro traumas? What does that actually mean? So think of micro traumas. This is from Wilhelm Reichen, or Reich. I always say Reichen because it's Reichian. So, and if you would help me mute the screen if anyone pops in. So micro traumas are micro restrictions in the fascia that come along with the small moments of restraint, of shame, of being too busy, of living in a state of fear, of financial insecurity. Notice if when I say these words, you're feeling little areas in your body that start to restrict, just micro restrictions, micro traumas in the heart, in the throat, in the gut, scarcity mindset, mistrusting people, poor communication, lack of boundaries. These patterns manifest in the physical body and in the nervous system. And how we see this manifest in the soma, or the living body, or body mind, as I like to call it. The body is perceived from within. So a quick working definition, if you're not familiar with somatics, is being able to tap into your felt sense. Ooh, now I'm really big. I still want to see the whole view here. So a little history of somatics. Somatics spans across many different disciplines. There are many different disciplines that we practice here at Flowshala, but I'll name a few so that you have a working framework to understand somatics. We have dance, yoga, Feldenkrais, Rolfing, Qigong, Tai Chi, to name a few. Contact improvisation, which is a style of dance that relies on the internal experience. Even Pilates, which heavily relies on internal cueing, is a form of somatic work as well. So anything that's cultivating that deeper connection of the internal experience, or even proprioception or breath work. So I have 4 questions that I like to pose for you and see if you know the answer based on what I've shared about microtraumas and somatics. What's really going on when we lack the ability to feel? When that little somatic awareness or our body mind is turned off to the point where we feel numb or we just don't feel anything. What's really going on when we lack the ability to feel? So feel free to write those questions down. You can journal about them later on. We're not going to do any sharing here, but I want to offer some insight to these questions as well. Number 2, why does making decisions literally cause me fatigue? Where does decision fatigue actually come from? Number 3, why am I perceiving so many distractions and having a physical response to that? So many distractions all the time, and now my body is calibrated to this constant state of doing. Number 4, why is overwhelm so prevalent in my life right now? Now, you may or may not resonate with some of these questions, and that's totally fine. We created the Somatic Discernment Workshop and the Humans Being Project for individuals that want to go deeper into understanding how somatic discernment can actually be conditioned and be developed as a skill, as a life skill, and as a tool for helping process patterns that are no longer serving us. And so even if you didn't resonate with one of those questions, just know there might be others in the room. Feel free to give like spirit fingers or happy fingers if you get what I'm saying here. So even if you didn't identify, I don't want to like label anyone. I want to be really conscious of that, that you might have identified with one, all 4, or none. And that's totally okay. We're here just exploring these topics. So Rena, what may be going on when we lack the ability to feel? Because we have a lot of clients that we work with when we're cueing them to tune into somatic feedback where they'll be like, I don't feel anything. I feel numb. And that is somatic feedback.
The somatic feedback of numbness, that comes to a couple different ideas on a muscular skeletal level. I think about fascial adhesions, and this all can tie back into the nervous system, right? So let's just say we are sitting at a keyboard for a long period of time and our heavy head has begun to hung forward. The body is really good at wanting to always correct and become more efficient. And so it's going to start to cast where our soft muscle tissue is with actual bone, with cartilage tissue, and it creates that thick, leathery, tense muscle tissue very slowly over time. And eventually you'll find those people who are like, that is how they stand, because the body has figured out how to be very efficient with that. Simultaneously, if somebody gets into some kind of an emotionally traumatic situation and it's created a lot of fear response, it's going to create that same caving in effect, and it can go in the same direction, right? So the typing at the keyboard can create the somatic experience of being hurt in the fight or flight zone, of like that hypervigilance. Oh, something is wrong. It's body language, right? Or you can literally have something that is scary, that is dangerous, that creates you to hold that posture to protect yourself. And then you can't get out of it because you haven't finished through with the process of actually running away from the thing that was scary or fighting it off.
And fascia that is really dense and really thick tends to get phased down in innervation. So it makes sense that if we have a bunch of dense fascia from being in these micro traumatic states of fight or flight, and our body is tight and our mobility is lacking, that fascia is phased down, meaning it doesn't get as much sensory feedback. Also, if you're in a heightened state of arousal all the time, for example, think of somebody that's like an EMT that's working, like answering to emergencies, they might have developed a coping mechanism to be not feeling into their somatic body to be able to handle the work that they do. So there's many reasons behind why we might lack the ability to feel into our somatic body, but just know that there's many different reasons why that happens, and we're just looking at some of the options. The second question, actually I'm going to skip to the third. Why am I perceiving so many distractions and having a physical response to that? I'd love to touch in on our environment, especially being in pandemic. We have switched over to a lot of virtual, a lot of time spent on the internet, and meetings, in-person meetings are not as frequent. We do a lot of time on the screen. And so these physical distractions are actually causing our nervous system to calibrate to that frequency of being on all the time, being in our prefrontal cortex, being in our critical thinking mode, even on the screen right now. We're in that mode, but there is a solution. There is an anecdote to that. And it's just making sure that you're spending time in movement, mindset, nutrition, rituals, and making sure that you have that time to recalibrate when you're not in computer mode. Oops, somebody left and came back there. So I'd love for you guys to do a little somatic experiencing with me here. So I want to have you consider being in a parasympathetic state. It has a felt sense associated with it. It actually feels heavier and more grounding in the body to be in parasympathetic. So take a few moments to ground yourself with your own breath and just imagine yourself like a heavy, heavy sandbag sinking to the bottom of the ocean. They're floating down, they're landing on the bottom of the ocean, there's sand coming up. You're staying with your breath. So when you're in a parasympathetic state, nervous system state, your relationship with gravity is actually more pronounced. You can connect with people through eye gaze deeper and with more ease. So that's looking into the polyvagal nerve network, which is highly innervating the face, the mouth. It travels all the way down through the heart into the gut. And as we are spending more time in parasympathetic, like that deep sense of groundedness, we actually look at people in the eyes longer and we can hold the gaze longer. Versus if we're in sympathetic arousal, we might find our eyes kind of darting around the room, or we might not be able to hold eye gaze very long, or our mouth might appear pursed. So there's all these little nuances that come along with being in sympathetic or parasympathetic state. And so I encourage you, as you connect with the next person, as you get off of this, we're going to go for a few 20 more minutes or so. Pay attention to how you connect with the person. Are you able to hold the eye gaze? Do you feel heart-centered? Do you feel like energetically you're actually connecting with the person in front of you? These are all just little tools that we want to cultivate and keep conditioning. So when you're at ease and grounded, somatic discernment is our automatic set point. And that's what Coach Rena has so lovingly brought to this container. This workshop is the first topic in our Humans Being Project 12-week somatic coaching cohort. We're going to spend 12 weeks, literally, the first 6 weeks on somatic discernment. So I will transition to Rena now. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Hopefully you can stay grounded as we continue to move through the workshop.
Nice and grounded. How are we doing? Wiggle wormy fingers. Okay, good. Well, all right. I'm about to share with you the 3-step process that I've laid out to reestablishing somatic discernment. I have explained this as 3 very simple, but definitely not easy steps, because they require a consistent practice. They require habit changing and healing in a nervous system. Like, bodies are old. They take time. They're not like this culture of doing all the time. They actually take time, right? So we do need to be patient with the process and understand that we are simple, but not easy. So step 1 for reestablishing that somatic discernment, that deep sense of knowing inside of your body, is to establish a daily practice of deep listening. Eliminate the noise of your mind, of the outside, and create sacred space for yourself. You might do this sometimes. This might be a huge struggle for you, but it is essential to be able to function like a healthy human, in my opinion. Our bodies speak in a very subtle language. Amongst a very high intensity business of society, it's very hard to hear our very physical cues for when a decision is right for us, even when we need to eat or drink. There's abundant research that goes out when we're looking at screens alone, we actually forget to drink water because our nervous systems are so distracted and wound up that we actually can't even listen to when our physical body is wanting to adjust. So there's rituals and habits that we can instill to create space for us and to listen to the subtleties of our bodies. We don't have to take it that seriously either. It's actually very fun. Daily journaling, meditation, recovery-based movement, and mindful nourishment practices are the 3 tools we emphasize most in this practice, in this whole program, in the Humans Being Project is what I'm referring to. Flowshala in general really promotes these things, but what makes Humans Being, I think, very special is the mindful nourishment practices. When you think nourishment, you probably think food and water, but I'm breaking that out of the box to recognize that we're receiving nourishment from air, from water, from food, from socializing with each other, from reading books, from standing with a tree. Like there's so many areas that we can receive nourishment. And when our bodies are in that contracted state of fight or flight because we are overwhelmed with the go, 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 we're not able to dilate and receive those things. We just can't. Oftentimes this results in digestive issues. We're just passing food straight through us. We don't want to eat it at all. Maybe it's all stuck in our guts and it's not going anywhere. None of that is receiving. Maybe we are avoiding drinking water. We're avoiding social interactions. These are all different aspects of avoiding, passing, or rejecting senses or sources of nourishment from our bodies. So yes, in the Humans Being Project, we're really focused on these pieces. We use movement practices, we use meditation, we use journaling, all as ways to recalibrate the system to receive. So that's the daily practice, creating space, carving space throughout those things. How to do that is all covered in the project. It's all covered with work. That's what our jobs are, is to help people figure out how to create that space. It can feel really impossible at times because this world demands almost every minute of our time. And you can look at your house, it's probably has very little space for it physically. And that is all just big expressions of what the culture demands of us. Not for all of you, I don't want to speak for all of you. We're all in different places, but I know like a majority of people have this lived experience. I'm going to pass it back to Summer, where we will transition into step 2, which is rebuilding trust with yourself. Once you have the space set, you have your sacred rituals going, that's when you start to rebuild the trust.
So a huge part of somatic discernment is being able to actually cultivate a deeper sense of trust with yourself. And that means just real simple, when your body tells you a yes or a no, that you listen and that you take action. I'm just going to say that again. So when was the last time you had a gut instinct where your body was telling you, no, I need to not do that. That's a bad thing. That's a thing that's not serving my highest self. Like that is out of alignment with me. And you heard that and you felt it somatically, but you ignored it. Has anyone had that experience in the past like week? Give me a spirit fingers. Week, month. It happens often. And so learning to cultivate a deep trust with yourself is knowing that your somatic feedback is important. And it's a practice. It doesn't happen overnight because these patterns are really embedded in our nervous system. They've been happening for a long time to protect us and to keep us safe. And so our work in the Humans Being Project, which is a deep immersion, like it's taking the Flowshala classes and journaling and rituals and lectures and really applying this knowledge on a daily basis and really committing to that. So it's learning that somatic discernment so that when you have the next time you have the opportunity to listen, you know what to do. You're like, all right, body just told me a thing. Somatic vessel, somatic body just told me something. And now I'm feeling empowered enough to actually listen gradually. And we really specialize in like regressing things because things can feel really scary. We don't want you to do it all at once, but we want to give you the tools to be able to have steps forward towards listening to that somatic feedback and taking action. So in order to cultivate a deeper connection with your soma or your felt sense, your body mind, takes practice and willingness to explore what your own perfect flow looks like. And it's not everyone's flow in the cohort that we end up working with is everyone's going to have a different 4-day wave Everyone's going to have different practices, different spaces, different time zones. And this is a practice in understanding what your optimal flow looks like. So that's your practices. The three main practices we focus on are movement, mindset, nourishment, and then this fourth layer, which is somatics. That's going to be woven into our time together. So I have a few real easy steps that you can use to tune into your daily somatic feedback. That's going to help you regain the ability to listen to your inner compass and take empowered action. So write these down if you need some help or you want to get a head start before the cohort starts on March 1st. Step one is to observe. Become the observer. Listen in. So when you have that ping or you have that moment of getting some somatic feedback somewhere in your physical vessel, which generally is like tingliness in the legs, it can be like a punch of the gut sort of sensation. It can be a lump in your throat. It can be the heart. Like tune into that somatic feedback and observe it. And step two is just name it and give it a sensation. And I'm actually going to help you guys with a little vocab list for sensations, because a lot of times what we found with our students and teachers in training that are doing our 100-hour Steel Mace Vinyasa Cert, where we cover this stuff in detail, how to coach it. Woo, Jolie. A lot of times people mistake sensation with like feelings. Like I feel tired or I feel stressed. So a sensation is different than a feeling. Okay. Or an emotion. A sensation is like really breaking it down to the bare bones of like warm, tingly, expansive, restricted. Okay. You guys catching some ideas for some sensations? Feel free to type in the chat bar some other somatic sensations if you like, and we'll read them off too. So step three is understand and explore what the stress response feels like and what it feels like to be in a state of flow or in parasympathetic nervous system tone. If you take anything away from this workshop, if you can differentiate between what it feels like to be in a chronic like fight or flight, even if it's low grade, it's like tail tucked under, shoulders hunched up, stress in the neck, shallow breathing, like human cashew. And then the opposite, when we're training with mace, we're actually putting our body into this like empowered posture, this warrior like body, which takes us out of fight or flight. So there's no wonder the two are interrelated. When we train with a purpose and we integrate this weaponry and proper biomechanics to change our posture, the result is we start to shift our inner experience. So I'd love to have you start noting all the moments of expansion in your day-to-day and note the moments of retraction. Just start observing and putting names to them. And even when you're in dialogue with certain individuals, you might feel like, oh my gosh, whenever I have a conversation with that person, I'm feeling really like going into retraction, going into micro trauma, or oh, whenever I'm around that person, Rena, I just feel expansive. Like I want to like jump around and roll on the ground and like have a little cuddle puddle or tickle something. I don't know. That's sometimes how I feel around Rena. Not all the time, when she's in a work mode, it's a little different. She's got her headphones and she's typing away. I'm like, okay, I'm not going over there. Like energetically, I can pick up on that. So note the moments of expansion in your day-to-day. Note the moments of retraction. Observe it. Start to track your vocabulary list. I'm going to pull up the chat and see if you guys can put any new sensations in. Rena, will you pull up the chat so we can see? Because building the vocabulary list for parasympathetic and sympathetic is really what's going to be helpful. So for being in sympathetic nervous system arousal, which is like the fight or flight, human cashew, not feeling super expansive, the words that I usually see, yeah, so write them in the chat bar. Cold, stagnant, yeah. I hear other ones I hear are like blocked, restricted, tight. Yep, tight's a big one. Tension, pain, narrow. Yeah, so these are all somatic sensations associated with being in a state of like fight or flight. There's also like vigilance. You can be like looking around, like fight or flight can serve you. If there's danger and you're in a dark alley and you have like sympathetic arousal, great. You're able to react to things really quickly because you're tracking with your eyes. Even just hearing all these words, I can feel my somatic body. Can you guys all feel how you're starting to take on those little micro traumas, micro attractions associated with the somatics? Cool. So now let's flip it to the opposite, parasympathetic. Here we go. Write your words in. Breathe while you do it. Flutter your lips. Take a big inhale. Exhale. A little horse mouth. Relax your face. Soft, warm, ease. Exactly. Expansiveness. Expansive, Fluid, flowing, open, present, heavy, grounded. Awesome. You guys are taking this stuff away. Radiant. Love it. Cool. So those are the three steps I have for you to get a head start on Human Being Project and start tracking your somatic feedback throughout the day. And I think that is all I have. I think it's, thanks guys.
How fun. Look at us just moving our way right through this thing. Cool. So that is a fun little 3-step process to be able to orient to our somatic experience, because being able to shine the light on the shadowy little devil that is controlling your life without you even knowing it makes it just kind of disappear. Oftentimes, it can be that easy. Observation and mindfulness are incredibly powerful tools. So step 3. Oh, you just made your way all the way through that whole thing. Sorry, I'm not following. I was getting excited. Okay, cool. So I have an exercise that I'd like to take you all into. This can be really cool for some of you. Others might find this really weird. I'm just going to put that out there. It's going to be weird. Are you ready to get weird? Okay, good. If you feel like you don't want to be witnessed, you can turn off your camera, but be with us, okay? If you want to be witnessed, it's incredibly powerful, and practices like this have helped me push through some of my biggest, most terrifying demons I have ever faced. So bear with me here. I swear it's going to be fun. However you want to go into this practice, we're going to go through a little bit of a visualization and then a few minutes of what is called intuitive movement, letting your body move impulsively, listening to its subtle choices of what it wants to do. Some of you train with me. Somebody left. Too weird. We don't want to do that. It's okay. Some of you have trained with me and done some weird things like this with me before. So glad you're here to hold it down. Yeah, so just so you know what's going to happen, prepare yourself. Maybe notice the somatic experience of that, what you're experiencing now, the anticipation. Take a deep breath into that and let it go. And here we descend, going into our somatic discernment exercise. Yeah, go ahead and just get comfy. Get comfy. Yeah, we're going to get on our shaggy rug. Okay, so you can draw your attention off of my screen into your body, but stay anchored to my voice. Notice your breath. Notice the gravity holding you down. What areas of your body are supporting you right now? Let your jaw unhinge and maybe even stretch it wide open as you pull your shoulders back. And then sink deeper into those supports. Where do you feel yourself contacting your support on the ground or a chair, whatever it is? Now open your eyes softly and focus them all into a single point. Look at like a little detail, like you're trying to watch us fly. Now broaden your gaze and take in the entire room at once. Relax your eyes in their sockets and just allow them to wander. Without trying to make them do anything, just let them wander around and look at different things. Start to relax the muscles in your body and allow your body to just start to explore its environment with its senses. Let your breath just be natural. There's nothing to control here. You can get out of the control of your body and let your senses explore the room. Stay aware of your somatic experience. Notice if some things activate you or stimulate you. Maybe other things feel grounding or tranquilizing. Notice if you're drawn to light or dark spaces. Now identify the thing in your room that brings you the most pleasure. the most joy when you draw your attention to that thing, even if it's not a lot, but just a little bit. Take note of your somatic feedback. What happens in your body when you find something that's pleasurable? And shift yourself away from that thing. Maybe allow your senses to wander to something that's not so pleasurable. How is that different? And go ahead and wander back to the thing that's pleasurable. There's no reason to make sense of any of it. Just notice. What helps you sit up tall, feel expansive, maybe even smile a little bit? From there, hold on to that compass of pleasure. And close your eyes and go deeply in. Try to imagine a time in your life that you felt that kind of pleasure, or maybe even more so, the most pleasure that you've ever felt. True human pleasure. Notice if it was coupled with joy. Notice how your body might feel when you start to really think about that pleasurable and joyful experience. What is the sensation that you feel in your body? Begin to breathe into that sensation. Let go of control of your body and just breathe into the sensation of pleasure and joy. Even if you feel far away from pleasure or joy, allow your body to start moving towards it. And this is where I want you to just let yourself move intuitively. Maybe you just move a hand off your lap and put it on something else. Maybe you lift a chin. Maybe you try closing your belly, moving it around. Try different things. You get to explore. Creating somatic discernment is also about being okay with making mistakes. Follow your compass. And don't think too much about it. Go one way, and if it doesn't feel good, go the other way. It's okay if you're barely moving at all. You're still doing it. We're just going to take 3 more minutes here to explore the compass of pleasure and joy.
So you have 3 minutes to allow yourself to expand your upper limit. So if feeling joy and feeling spontaneity feels foreign to you, this is an opportunity to slowly increase your upper limit just a tiny bit. So maybe that's identifying a place in the room that brought you joy. Maybe that's the temperature. Maybe it's something soft around you. They're little micro actions that you're just tuning into the somatic feeling and feedback in your physical environment. And your physical environment includes the room. It also includes your body. It includes your breath. In the event that you're feeling like your breath is restricted, relax your mouth, your jaw, and just get into some fluid, natural movement. This is an exercise that you can take with you after this workshop is over, just giving yourself permission to expand and to feel more fluid in the body. And take your final few breaths here in our exercise together. I'm seeing a lot of people just getting into their musculoskeletal system, relaxing the jaw. You'll notice the saliva even changes in your mouth when you give yourself permission to expand. The cortisol levels are actually, which are measurable in your saliva, are actually shifting and changing as you allow more fluidity in your movement. And if you need an example, we have Renna here. I'm going for it. So go ahead and wrap up your final wiggly jigglies and feel free to keep moving if it helps you to absorb. I know anytime I have Renna in a seminar that she has the need to be in her physical body. So she'll roll out and move and, give yourself permission to, if you're in a Zoom meeting and you're feeling stuck, like take this stuff with you, like have little movement snacks throughout your Zoom room. If you can mute your screen and do some wigglies, it's just going to help you be able to absorb overall. I'm loving what I'm seeing, you guys. Some of you guys are just really getting creative on the flow aspect of things. Amazing. Okay, so please hold on to that spontaneous joy and pleasure as an anchor, because I'm going to address a couple internal fears. I want to hold space for some of the biggest fears that I see in people that are wanting to step into a movement practice or wanting to step into a new routine. Because a lot of people come to us, they're either coming to us for just some coaching, or they might be wanting to do the Human Being Project, or maybe they're wanting to do the teacher training. So these fears apply across anyone getting started with a new practice. And the top two fears are the internal fear, I'm not fit enough or experienced enough with MACE to join Flowshala or to join the Human Being Project. Has anybody ever had that fear of like, I need to work out before I start working out? Leanne's like, yeah. Anybody else have that fear of like, I'm not fit enough to work out with the MACE. I need to lift some weights before. Anybody else have ever had that fear? Okay. So I'm just going to say it. Donna has, okay. You can join the Humans Being Project or the Flowshala or any movement practice wherever you are. It's a practice in fully meeting yourself where you're at, and it's a practice of acceptance and knowing, all right, it's one step forward to be joining a collective of people that care about this work and that are going to hold me up. And as you start surrounding yourself by other people invested in somatic inquiry and flow state and moving the body and training recovery, as you start just surrounding yourself by people that are invested in that, your energy starts to shift as well. Another external fear. So we have internal fears and we have external fears. The two external fears I'll touch on are I don't have enough time and I don't have enough money. Those are the two main fears I see. So I'll address the first one, the myth of time. So we actually are the makers of time. We can make our calendar be expansive or we can make it be limited. And yes, some of us are working a lot, like big jobs, and there's still always a little bit of time for self-care. So we got to work with what we have. But the myth of time is that we actually make time for the things we truly care about, and we make time for the things that we're invested in. So when we're ready to shift and create massive changes internally, we will find the time. So when you know you're ready for deep inner change, you make the time, you find the time. And the cool thing about the world of virtual coaching, which we've been doing for quite a while now, we started right when pandemic started, really ramping up virtual coaching to give people tools. Like, yes, we're spending a little bit of time on the screen, but we're giving them tools to put into the other 23 hours in a day. The cool thing about virtual coaching is we work with people in all different time zones all around the world. And some of them show up at meetings at 9 p.m. at night. I know Donna's in Australia. Anybody else international on this call? I don't know if there's any other international ones on this, but a lot of people in our teacher training are showing up at seminars till 3 in the morning. They have their demo models. People make time when it's important to them and when they want to invest the time. So if you are inspired for a deep inner change, you will find the time. And then of course, I don't have enough money obstacle. We've made so many things like this available because we really care about our community being able to access these resources. So whether or not it's the Human Beings Project or, just starting training at the Flowshala with other forms of membership and accountability, Gold membership is a really great option for people that really want accountability. What we found is when you redirect your luxury spending to investing in your wellness and mental health, you actually demonstrate an act of self-care. And so that's actually giving you the feedback of, all right, I am valuable. My time is valuable. My body is valuable. My vessel and my body mind are valuable. And I'm going to redirect some examples of luxury spending. People like spending luxury money on like wine, for example, or it's expensive, or alcohol, or going out to drinks. When people pool that luxury spending, or coffee stands, you know, $5-6 a day, it's like we have this like instant gratification of like, oh, these things are going to bring me joy. But when we redirect and pool that luxury spending into our wellness and our self-care, it can make a really huge difference. And many of the students I've welcomed into my immersive coaching programs, such as our 100-hour teacher training and other programs, they've reported that after they finish, that the investment they made into themselves actually led to more abundance, prosperity, and confidence in their lives. And many, this is directly from them. I do a lot of testimonial videos with clients that finish my immersive coaching programs. Many have said that the courses that come with our immersive coaching, which humans being comes with 3 online courses that you get to keep for life. They go back to those again and again. They use them for life. And a lot of them have said that they plan to use these tools, that it keeps giving back to them because they're able to use it for years and years. So I'm going to transition over to Rena. Hopefully, if that addresses any internal or external fears that you've had about getting started with a coaching program, that allows you to look at it from a slightly different perspective.
Well, let's talk about fear. It made me afraid. Just unwind that. Okay. Just a story. Just a story. Cool. Yeah, I want to just invite us into a close by just telling you a little bit more about what the Humans Being Project is and how you could be involved if you want to be. You all have stuck with us for this entire time and done some really weird stuff. So I would love to invite you into the project. This was your test. You passed. Good job. Cool. And despite whether you want to do that or anyway, I would love for you to just be a part of our community. So make sure that you reach out to us afterwards. Summer's going to let you know before we end how to do that. So just hang tight. So the Humans Being Project is a community initiative to help bring the humans back into balance. Because I think we're all pretty clear at this point, we've gotten a little off track. We're going to be going through a curated movement-based 4-day flow every week together. 2 days of that 4-day wave are self-study. They're pre-recorded classes that Summer has made that are all curated towards very particular movement patterns to relate to somatic experiences. The other 2 days are going to be with Summer and myself and the group live stream. Participants will meet with me one-on-one throughout the time to do something called a somatic inventory, where we'll talk about and go into different experiences to really paint a map of what is going on in your nervous system, which is very valuable. Probably when I did the pilot program last month, that was probably one of the most valuable pieces of it for people. The Humans Being Project is an essential foundation for returning to your whole sense of self, and it cannot wait. If this whole program felt in alignment with your inner compass of joy and pleasure, please don't hesitate to apply for the spring cohort if you didn't already. We will be sending out the replay for this workshop in the next 5 days with pricing options for payment plans or paid in full. You can enroll right there on the page and just take one of the 12 spots for the spring cohort starting March 1st. There is a huge discount for enrolling early, I believe before February 22nd. Yeah, Summer's going to tell you more about that.
So we are moving towards a process. This is new for us. So we have lots of different options if you want to explore this. You can explore it through setting up a call with Rena. Many of you guys have already done a preliminary exploration call and talk about it, but we really want to present you with the pricing option so that you have lots of time to think about it and deliberate if this is the right time for you to jump into a coaching program like this. And so you guys will all receive the replay, and I know a lot of us weren't able to be here live, so we wanted to just give you all the options, everything laid out, and in the event you decide that you want to do it, awesome, it's just going to be right there in front of you. But we do only have 12 spots, so I just want to emphasize that we're capping it at 12 for this cohort, and we're having like an official start date. However, a lot of people are like, oh, can I travel during this? Or can I, be gone for a day? Yes, of course, everything is virtual. So if you miss a class, you have it recorded and everything is going to be available for you to keep as well. So you get lifetime access to all of those recordings too. So you can always go back to it again and again. And you get lifetime access to the courses, the prerequisite courses or curriculum that is involved as well, which are high-level courses designed for self-myofascial release and steel mace vinyasa. And they're all high definition, high audio quality courses for the self-study. And I'll be teaching 4-hour-long lectures on somatics and flow state. Rena will be doing office hours as well. And then she'll be doing movement. Actually, could you tell us a bit about the movement tracking?
Yeah, there's this whole event that happens at this time every week. It's called Somatic tracking. And we'll do some weird movement stuff, kind of like what we just did, but it will be very paired with the stuff that we do the week before. So we'll be having these 4-day waves that we all do together, like I had just mentioned before. And it's going to put certain movement patterns into the body that will elicit particular somatic responses. And then as a group, we will get to work together and within ourselves to explore how that can express more intuitively, impulsively, instead of saying, I'm going to do a squat and then I'm going to stand up, but to actually let go of the control and see what happens when your body just learns a word and begins to create phrases. And this can look really small. It doesn't matter. Everybody's movement is beautiful and perfect and welcomed. So don't think you have to be some kind of elaborate, wonderful dancer to do that. It's not about that. This is about tapping into your body and your felt sense of knowing.
And there'll be also lots of spontaneity and surprises. So you have 2 live sessions that are specifically for this cohort only, 2 per week for the next 12 weeks, starting on March 1st. And sometimes we'll be popping in and teaching you flow. Sometimes Ren and I will be collaborating on things. So showing up with an open mind and just being prepared to be delighted in a new way and take these tools into your life, into your community. We really want this to be paramount for community connection. So yes, you'll have this cohort that's kind of like your secret weapon in your back pocket that you're like, all right, I'm meeting with my humans being cohort. And then you learn these skills and then you take them out into your community so that it's like a ripple effect where you're teaching these practices to other people in your life and you're getting more face-to-face one-on-one connection time. So we are super excited to be able to offer this to the community. We've never done anything like this, and you guys will be like the founding members of this beginning cohort. And if you have any questions, now would be the time because we're going to do Q&A tomorrow and we're going to answer all your questions. So please write your questions in the chat now. The pricing will be sent out in the replay link and you'll be able to view that and do all of your calculations and everything for a whole 5 days. And our early registration will end on Tuesday and then it's still available up until we fill it, the 28th. Cool. So I'm going to just check out your guys' feedback here. I appreciate all that you lovely ladies are offering. It was so sweet to meet you and see what your work's about. It's so needed in this world. And I'm right there with you and expanding this work and variations on the theme as much as possible. Thank you for sharing. Thank you so much, Carrie, for being here. Thank you. All right, we're going to close. So you guys can text us and send us your questions, but we really want to do some like a full solid Q&A. So it might be 30 minutes, might be an hour. That also will be on the replay page. We're again, stepping away from old paradigms of how we offer programs. And we really want to give you guys the option to listen and get the Q&A stuff answered as well. Yes, the group classes will be at the same time every week, but you can always catch the recording as well if you're not able to make it. So the class times will always be at this time for the somatic experiencing and somatic inventory. And then the other day of the week, I believe, is Monday at noon. So it's a great time to come in. It's more lecture style. So a lot of our teachers in training and people doing immersives, they just watch the recordings if they can't make it. But of course, if you can block out those times, amazing. But you're still going to have access to all the flow shala classes as well. All right. Thanks everyone so much. It's so awesome to see you guys here. I'm going to stop the recording now and I look forward to seeing who is drawn to do the work with us for this first cohort. Thanks everyone so much. Have a wonderful night and do some somatic experiencing. Take time for yourself, tap into self-care. So great to see you guys.